All right, so we're diving deep today into You Are Not Your Brain.
Oh, yeah. This one is really going to help people break out of those bad habits.
For sure, and like all those negative thought patterns we get stuck in.
Yeah, the book really boils it down to one surprisingly simple idea.
Oh.
It says most of our struggles actually come from deceptive brain messages.
Deceptive brain messages. So like our brains are kind of lying to us.
Exactly, like having this inner critic constantly putting you down,
Oh, so like right before you're about to give that big presentation.
Yeah.
And suddenly you just know you're going to totally mess up.
Exactly, even though like you prepped and everything.
Yeah, you totally know your stuff.
But that feeling is so real.
It's the worst.
And the book explains it, like these messages, they often come from our past.
Really?
Yeah, especially like childhood experiences, which end up kind of getting hardwired into our brains.
Huh. But at least we're not stuck with them, right?
Oh.
The book talks about neuroplasticity.
Yeah, our brains can actually change and adapt.
Even as adults.
Even as adults.
That's awesome.
It is pretty cool.
Huh.
The book also makes a distinction between the mind and the brain.
Okay.
It's not saying the brain is bad or anything.
Right.
But that it often operates on autopilot.
Autopilot.
Yeah, seeking comfort, avoiding discomfort, while the mind is more our conscious awareness,
I see.
guided by our values and goals.
So kind of like that classic battle between wanting that extra slice of cake
Yeah.
versus wanting to fit into your jeans for that wedding.
Exactly. That's your brain and mind duking it out.
I love that analogy.
So the book gives us this 4-step process to help us out.
Ooh, to like rewire our brains.
Yeah, leverage the power of our minds.
Okay, what's the first step?
First step is relabeling.
Relabeling.
All about recognizing those deceptive brain messages for what they are.
Which is?
Lies, basically.
Oh, so like instead of saying, I'm such a failure.
Yeah.
You relabel it as, my brain is telling me I'm a failure, but that's not necessarily true.
Exactly. You're separating yourself from that thought.
Okay, that makes sense. What's next?
Then comes reframing.
Reframing.
Yeah, where you challenge those thoughts. Ask yourself, is this thought based on facts or just my brain messing with me?
Oh, right, because the book talks about those thinking errors, too.
Yeah, like catastrophizing.
Oh, yeah, catastrophizing.
Or mind reading.
Those sneaky little traps.
Exactly, and recognizing them helps us detach from those negative thoughts.
So we can see them for what they really are.
Just thoughts, not truths.
Not truth. I like that. Okay, so we've relabeled, we've reframed now what?
Step 3 is refocusing.
Refocusing.
Shifting your attention to something more positive and productive. Something that really aligns with your values and goals.
Gotcha. So instead of dwelling on that inner critic,
right,
you might go for a run or spend time with family or work on that creative project you've been putting off.
Exactly. You're actively directing your attention towards something good.
Something that nourishes your mind and helps you grow.
And with practice, this leads to the final step.
Which?
Revaluing.
Revaluing. Tell me more about that.
This is where those deceptive messages start to lose their power.
Really?
Because you've consistently challenged them, reframed them, and refocused your energy.
Wow, so those negative thoughts just don't affect you as much anymore?
Yeah, it's like finally taking off those smudged glasses.
You didn't even know you were wearing.
Exactly. You gain a deeper understanding of yourself and your potential.
Love that. The book tells this amazing story about Connie.
Oh, yeah.
Who had a stroke.
I know, right?
And she used her passion for snakes to retrain her brain.
Snakes.
Yeah, snakes.
It's such a cool example of how even unconventional passions can help.
For brain retraining, I never would have thought of that.
It highlights the idea that focused attention on meaningful activities can actually reshape our brains.
So it's not just about positive thinking.
Yeah.
It's about taking action.
Right.
And engaging in stuff that really resonates with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get into some of those practical techniques the book talks about.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Because it's one thing to understand all this.
Right.
But how do we actually use it in our lives?
Well, one of the simplest techniques is creating gratitude lists.
Gratitude lists. I gotta admit, that sounds a little basic to me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I get the idea of focusing on the positive and all.
Right.
But how does just writing stuff down actually change our brains?
It's more powerful than you'd think. Our brains have this thing called a negativity bias.
Negativity bias.
Yeah, they're like wired to focus on threats and dangers.
Oh.
Which was helpful back in the day,
Like caveman times.
Exactly. Keep you alive, but not so much now.
So we're constantly looking for what's wrong.
Pretty much scanning for what's lacking. What could go wrong? even when things are good.
Wow. So this negativity bias is what keeps those deceptive messages going.
Exactly. But when we focus on what we're grateful for,
Uh-huh.
we shift our brain's attention away from the negative.
So it's like giving our brains a dose of positivity then,
Yeah, training it to see the good stuff.
instead of always focusing on the bad.
And the book says gratitude lists actually activate the reward centers in our brains.
Really?
Yeah, releasing dopamine and serotonin.
Oh, those feel-good chemicals.
Exactly. Boost your mood, make you feel content.
So it's not just about feeling better in the moment. It's about changing our brain chemistry for good.
Over time.
Right.
Exactly. And the more you practice gratitude,
Yeah.
the more you strengthen those neural pathways.
The positive ones.
Exactly. Making it easier to access those feelings again.
Okay, this is all starting to click.
Yeah.
But what about when those deceptive messages are like super intense?
Oh, yeah.
Like a tidal wave of negativity. Gratitude lists don't really seem like enough then.
That's where understanding emotional sensations versus true emotions comes in.
Oh, right. I remember reading about that.
Can you remind me what the difference is?
I think so, but maybe you could refresh my memory.
Of course. So true emotions are like sadness after a loss or joy after a success.
Right.
Those are natural responses to life. But
Okay.
emotional sensations, those are often intense, uncomfortable feelings triggered by those deceptive messages.
So like that heart-racing, palm-sweating anxiety before a presentation.
Exactly. Even though you know you're prepared,
Yeah.
it's your brain's wiring going haywire, sending you those danger signals.
And there's no real threat.
Right.
So how do we tell the difference between a true emotion and an emotional sensation?
The book gives some clues. Emotional sensations, they often feel out of proportion to the situation.
Okay.
They come on suddenly and intensely, and they're usually paired with those negative thoughts.
So like feeling anxious about a job interview, that's normal.
Right.
But if you're already convinced you're going to bomb it,
Yeah, before you even walk in the door.
that's your brain playing tricks.
Exactly. And once you can recognize those emotional sensations,
Yeah.
you can detach from them.
Detach. How do we do that? It feels like they have so much power over us.
Well, the book offers this technique called recognize, dismiss, accept.
Recognize, dismiss, accept.
It's like a 3-step process for disarming those emotional sensations.
Okay, break it down for me.
So first step is recognize.
Recognize.
Just becoming aware of those thoughts and feelings as they pop up without judgment or resistance.
So like noticing that anxiety without getting swept up in it.
Exactly. You're not fighting it or pushing it away.
Gotcha.
You're simply acknowledging it's there.
Okay, makes sense. What's next?
Next step is dismiss.
Dismiss.
You challenge the validity of those thoughts and feelings.
Oh,
You remind yourself they're not facts, they're just products of your brain's wiring.
So it's like saying to that inner critic, I hear you, but I don't believe you.
Aha, exactly.
I love it. And the last step is accept.
Yes. Accepting the present moment with all its imperfections
Imperfections.
and challenges.
Yeah,
Recognizing that you can't control everything,
right.
but you can control how you respond.
So it's not about pretending those difficult feelings aren't there.
Right.
It's about choosing not to let them control you.
Exactly. Finding that inner peace and acceptance even when things are tough.
Wow, this recognize, dismiss, accept technique sounds really powerful.
It is. It's a tool you can use to navigate those emotional ups and downs.
And the book says it's an ongoing practice.
Yeah, the more you use it,
Uh-huh.
the easier it becomes to detach from those emotional sensations.
So you can respond to challenges better.
With more clarity and resilience.
Exactly.
This all ties back to that core message. You are not your brain.
Right.
We have the power to choose our thoughts,
You got it.
to rewire those pathways.
And create a life that's true to ourselves.
It's about reclaiming our power and reaching our full potential.
And that brings us to mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about it these days.
Yeah, it's a buzzword for sure.
But I'm still not sure I totally get it. Like what it actually means
Right.
and how it helps us change.
So at its core, mindfulness is about paying attention to the present moment
Okay.
without judgment. You're just noticing your thoughts and feelings
Okay.
and sensations,
Yeah.
but you're not getting carried away by them.
So it's like hitting pause on that constant mental chatter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And just observing what's happening inside without getting all caught up in the story my mind's making up.
Exactly. And the book says mindfulness isn't about emptying your mind or achieving some blissful state.
So
It's more about becoming aware of what's happening internally.
moment by moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does this awareness actually help rewire our brains?
Well, remember those deceptive brain messages?
Yeah.
They thrive on autopilot.
On those habits of thinking and reacting.
Right. And mindfulness helps us break free from that.
By bringing our awareness to those patterns.
Exactly.
So instead of just reacting,
Yeah.
we can choose how to respond.
Mindfulness gives us that space to choose.
Between the stimulus and response.
Exactly. That moment where we can decide, do I buy into this or not?
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But mindfulness can seem kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
Like you need to be a meditation guru to do it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The book talks about that, though.
Oh, good.
They call it progressive mindfulness.
Progressive mindfulness.
It's not about being perfect at meditating. It's about gradually incorporating mindfulness into your daily life.
Starting small.
Yeah, exactly. Like just paying attention to your breath for a few minutes each day, or noticing how your feet feel on the ground as you walk,
Okay.
or really savoring your food.
So it's about finding those little moments of presence.
Throughout the day, even when things are busy and chaotic.
And over time, this starts to create new neural pathways.
Right. It strengthens that ability to observe without getting swept away.
Leading to more self-awareness and resilience.
Exactly. Like building those mental muscles.
To help us navigate those tough emotions.
Yeah, you got it. The book also talks about self-compassion.
Oh, yeah. Self-compassion. I struggle with that one.
It's about treating yourself with kindness.
Kindness.
Like you would treat a good friend.
Because let's be honest, we're way harder on ourselves than anyone else.
So true. And that inner critic, that voice of judgment,
Yeah.
that's often fueled by those deceptive brain messages.
Oh, wow.
Mindfulness helps us see that voice for what it is.
Just a thought. Not the truth.
Exactly. So instead of beating yourself up, you practice self-compassion.
Acknowledging our imperfections.
Yeah. With kindness and understanding.
So it's not about making excuses or anything.
No, it's about creating a more supportive inner dialogue.
I think the biggest takeaway from You Are Not Your Brain is that we're not at the mercy of our brains.
Yeah, we have the power to choose.
To challenge those deceptive messages.
To rewire those pathways.
And create a life we actually want.
It's about recognizing that power within you to change and grow.
To break free from those limitations.
The 4 steps: mindfulness, self-compassion.
All these tools are here to help us tap into that power.
And start that journey of transformation.
So what deceptive brain message have you been believing? How can you use these tools to challenge it and take back control of your life? Remember, you are not your brain. You are the author of your own story, and you have the power to rewrite it.